All right, good afternoon, everyone. So welcome to a seminar today. So today, it's our pleasure to invite Professor Sybil Sharvelle to give a talk to our seminar today. And she is a professor in our department as well, and also she is the technical director in the CSU Spur Water Technology Accelerator Platform Center. Yeah. So, and her research focuses on some water reuse and the integrated urban water management and also some water quality research. Yeah. So please join me welcoming Professor Sybil.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. So I'm not going to get too deep into research today. I'm really going to be giving an overview of the activities that we have happening at this Water Technology Accelerator Platform Lab at the CSU Spur campus and kind of how we develop that, what it is, and the types of projects that we support there, particularly because I think that the projects that we have there are very connected to industry and utilities, and they provide really excellent opportunities for students to get hands-on experiences with real systems, working with utilities and companies on research that's driven by the needs of the industry. So it's going to be pretty broad today. And if you want to ask specific details about any of the research, I'm all for that at the end, but keeping it pretty high level through all of this. Oh, why did I not? Okay. So this facility is located at the CSU Spur campus. If you have not had a chance to go visit that campus, I would highly recommend it. It's on the north side of Denver at the National Western Stock Show and well, at the National Western Center, that hosts the National Western Stock Show in every January. It is an amazing place, and CSU has partnered to create a few buildings with research capabilities and a lot of education and outreach activities there. There's just so many cool things to see and do. So if you have not been able to check out that campus, I would highly recommend going. So basically, like, how did this campus come about? This was really funded through taxpayer dollars. State legislature $200 million for capital construction granted in 2015. So this is where, if you've not ever been to the National Western Stock Show, this is a huge event that's held here every January that attracts people from all over the country to come to the stock show. There's rodeo parades, cattle, the whole deal. And so there's a lot of activity there every year in January, and it's kind of a depressed area of the community as well, of Denver. And there was a lot of support to get more year-round use of that space and to create something that that the community could benefit from. So this is part of the National Western Center redevelopment. Taxpayers supported this because they wanted to see the development in the area. There's 3 buildings, Vita, Terra, and Hydro, but really there's education, research, and service and outreach that happen through this facility. So the 3 buildings, we have Vita, Terra, and Hydro. So the Vita building is run by the vet school, and there's a lot of things. Temple Grandin has a lot of work in there. There's horses and horse therapy and all sorts of things, and you can see live vet surgery. So all of these buildings have like live demonstrations that you can go visit throughout the day, and they're open every day. So, and they do like second Saturday. Sarah told, is that right? Second Saturday. Yep. So second Saturday of every month is like kind of open to the public, where they try to get a lot of people in and have a lot of activities. So highly recommend getting down there. Terra building is great to have right next door to us. I'll be referencing that building a lot throughout today's lecture too, because they do food and agriculture. They've got greenhouses. It's really run by the School of Agriculture. And they've got a dairy lab there where they do research on advancing dairy processing. And then we are located in Hydro, which is the water focal building. And Denver Water has their water quality lab testing there for the whole city that happens in this facility. So Denver Water also has a large presence in that building. And right next to the South Platte, focal point really on all things water, and that's where our Water Technology Accelerator platform is located. And as you can see, these are just really cool buildings. Really recommend checking it out. And the hope here was that the research that's conducted would connect with industry, local community, and kind of really bolster CSU's connection with these entities, and that we're working on solving global problems and kind of the next generation of problems related to water, health, and food. So that brings me to the Water Technology Accelerator Platform Lab. This is a picture of the lab. We'll be talking a lot about some of the systems in here and kind of what the capabilities are. But I always call this my dream lab because I like working on larger scale systems. I like doing real scaling projects up and doing demonstrations. And my research has always been focused on use of different water sources like graywater, stormwater, roof runoff. So we have all of those sources in one laboratory that we can have this kind of plug and play environment, we call it. So you can bring in technologies, got all these different water sources, and we can plug them into those water sources, test them, test different water sources. So really, this is kind of, if I had to think about what a lab that I would have wanted when I started my career, this is it. And I got lots of cool things when I was working only out of the CSU Fort Collins campus as well. We had facilities, did some graywater projects, a constructed wetland project, and lots of different things. But this lab really gives us an opportunity to, I think, elevate our department in CSU in the water industry and do this live testing with all these different water sources. So access to water sources. I think, here, let me close this. Why do I have that? Your microphone is muted on still. I don't know. Yes. That's all right. I'll just leave it. We'll make it. Okay, so the most unique thing about this lab is the access to real water sources. So we have roof runoff that's generated on site. So there is more than half of the roof of that hydro building is collected and runs into tanks in the water tap lab. That water is used for irrigation on site, but we can also access it for any sort of technology demonstrations. Gray water, so we have water from showers, sinks, and laundry. No laundry is connected in this building. It's just the shower and sink sources that are connected. So we can access that gray water. This is the one that I think is the most unique. I had research really on both of those ones on the left when I worked out of Fort Collins campus. We collect stormwater from a 20-acre area that surrounds the Spur campus, and it's an ultra-urban area with industrial and commercial development, parking lots, roads. Also one of the most contaminated areas of the country, apparently. And so we collect real stormwater from that area. It runs to a 10,000 gallon tank. I'll talk more about that later, but this is really unique to have access to real urban stormwater to do demonstration projects. A lot of times people have to make synthetic stormwaters or do field testing that doesn't have the control that we can get in the lab. Another great opportunity is we can bring in off-site water sources. So municipal and industrial water sources. Currently, we're working a lot with the oil and gas industry to test different approaches. We've also talked with Denver Water about receiving their recycled water, so we can receive any industrial water at the site as well. So this is, I think, the thing that really is unique about this lab, and we can deliver these at flow rates like around 1,000 gallons per day, for example, or about 1,000 gallons per day, varying depending on the system. Gray water, maybe not so much, but if you think about the systems that maybe, if you're familiar with any of the work in the environmental engineering labs, we usually test like 5 gallons per day. So this really gives us an opportunity to test at larger scales with access to these real water sources that provide the variation that would be seen in real world systems. That's because I clicked that thing. Okay. All right. So the areas of expertise here, I think we've already got a little overview of my research focus. Fit for purpose water reuse has really been a huge focal point of my career, looking at different water sources. We also can look at membrane treatments, desalination, and especially are looking to collaborate with Yanghua, our new faculty on that, water wastewater treatment processes, stormwater flood control, and then green infrastructure and nature-based solutions. So those are kind of the primary areas of expertise that we have really at the facility. That says fit for purpose water. And I do want to make sure everybody understands what fit for purpose water means. I like to call fit for purpose water the right water for the right use. So we have all these different water sources, right? We have wastewater that comes from toilets. We have gray water that can come from showers or laundry machines. We have stormwater, and then we can treat that to any quality that may be desired. So flush toilets for irrigation, to potable quality. And we now have the technology to treat literally any water source to any water quality that we desire. The technology all exists to do that, but we want to make sure we're doing this in the most smart way possible. So appropriate treatment of the water based on the source water and end use combination. So do we really need to treat stormwater? If we're going to use stormwater to flush a toilet, should that really meet potable water quality? Or can we achieve some efficiencies by treating that to an appropriate level that ensures human safety for toilet flushing, but doesn't overtreat the water for that use? Or for irrigation, do we want to put all the chlorine that we put into our distribution systems to maintain chlorine residual, which we need for drinking water, but don't necessarily need for irrigation, is not good for irrigation. So fit for purpose water really means right water for the right use and treating water to the appropriate level. So that is a core area of research that we have at the water tower. Keep clicking that. And I just wanted to give some examples of what these building scale systems that we focus on a lot can look like. So these are two very different projects. These building scale water reuse systems have been kind of going into buildings across the country really for the last 20 years, but have gained a lot more traction in the last 5 years. Was a lot of resistance to this concept in the beginning because people were worried about how do we keep people safe? How do we make these systems reliable? And there still are all of these issues, which is why we have water tap for testing of new technologies. This system on the left is at San Francisco Public Utilities. They take their wastewater from toilets in the building and all of their wastewater, black water, and treat it actually through a nature-based system. So it's actually getting treated through this kind of wetland system underground and then gets disinfected with UV and chlorine and then is used for flushing toilets in the building. So this is a very outward-facing project that has really high public visibility. This project on the right is in New York, Solaire Building in Battery Park. There's a whole district that has a lot of these building scale reuse systems there. This system is also taking black water or wastewater and treating it for use in toilets, as well as like irrigating this green roof that you see on the top of the building, for example. Using more conventional treatment systems like just membranes and disinfection rather than this more like outward facing. This is kind of in a basement and not as public to the as visible to the public. Okay, so that's what we work on. This is our core team. We work with a lot of faculty across campus, but these are the core people that are engaged here. So I serve as a technical director for water tap. Mazdak Arabi, who's also in our department, is the director for the One Water Solutions Institute, and all of this water tap falls under the One Water Solutions that also does a lot of work with software. Sarah Milaning is in the back here, and she is our associate director. I couldn't do a single thing I do without her help every day to keep things going and help with communications and all of the things that come with working with some of these industrial partners. So Judah also is our stormwater engineer, and he leads the Colorado Stormwater Center. Just want to acknowledge those people. And then really important to acknowledge also are my students that help make all of these things go on a regular basis. So want to just acknowledge them. A lot of them are coming to Spur on a regular basis as well. So they're working hard and keeping all these things operating as well. I want to mention actually Fiki Babu, who's in this picture. He is he's gone through, he won an award for his presentation at the graduate school for at the poster session, has gone through several iterations and now in the finalist for 3MT competition, and that he's presenting at 510 over at Laurie Student Center. I can give you the room number when we're done. And so you could go straight from here to there and just support him for that, because he's made it through several iterations right now. So proud of him about that. Okay, so I can't even read this, but this is again about us being plug and play, fit for purpose water reuse test beds. And the point is really to enable water utilities, industry consultants, and innovators to accelerate validation and deployment of next generation fit for purpose water technology. So this is where we take these systems that we maybe conceive of in the lab and bring them to scale and test them with real water sources, and have the opportunity even to spike things into those water sources. Since they're not always directly connected to an end use, we can experiment around and test and validate under challenging conditions what happens to these. We can challenge them with pathogens. We're doing some work now, we challenge with PFAS. So lots of opportunities there. So technology innovation and development is a huge part of what we do. Technical assistance, meaning, we offer a lot of expertise that can help with different projects and problems in the industry. Workforce development, so that's Amanda Salerno and Devin Snyder. Devin Snyder presented today at the PFAS conference that was in Denver. They're pictured there, and really working to, I think, a really important part of this is offering these projects that provide opportunities for students to engage with our partners and on these projects where they learn skills that are really relevant for jobs. And we're really working to develop a community of practice through all of our partnerships with different utilities and industry and things. We host events and bring people together and hear about what the state of the practice is, what are the problems, what is the research that we can do to address those problems, and how we can partner with them. Key features. We got water sources. I already talked about that. A big thing we have, you've seen mostly so far pictures of our indoor water laboratory. We have also the hydro backyard, which is where I'll talk about a project where we're testing bioretention cells. In the backyard, we test nature-based solutions. So we have the opportunity to connect our water sources to different nature-based solutions and do real testing there. We've got green roofs, agrivoltaics, and also food crop test plots. So that outdoor space is, I think, a huge asset to what we do. Look at all sorts of treatment technologies, and then sensing and control is a large part of what we do as well, and really wanting to advance the technology and bring in AI and machine learning, particularly for these kind of building scale systems. I would argue that those that advancements in sensing and control and autonomous control is the only way those are really going to move forward and become adopted widely. So I've talked about all these partners. Let's go through those. Sarah, do you remember what the first one is? Utilities. Okay, thank you. Okay, so utilities are a huge partner for us. I'll talk about some projects with current partners with utilities, engineering consultants like the Corolla, HDR, those kinds of entities we collaborate with quite a lot. Technology vendors, so people who are trying to advance or develop new technologies. Startups and entrepreneurs that want to do like really early scale testing, and then industry, like we've worked with oil and gas industry, food production industry, we've had a lot of conversation with as well also. These are the current sponsors of projects. So it goes everything from federal sponsors, state sponsors, utility sponsors of projects, and then industry and nonprofits. And this is really important in this world right now, where we've lost a lot of federal funding. It's kind of trickling back in a little bit and in certain ways, but I think having this diverse portfolio of funding and partners is really important as we move forward. And also, I think gives us great opportunities for students as well. Okay, so I'm going to talk about two primary things with respect to ongoing projects. There's a building demonstration system. So we are reusing gray water in the building and using roof runoff in the building. So I'm going to talk about those systems. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about our kind of research and development projects that are partners with different entities like Mile High Flood District, Denver Water's involved, the oil and gas industry, Water Research Foundation. So I'm going to start with these building demonstration projects. So this is the roof runoff collection for irrigation. Okay, so it's kind of going in the opposite direction, which I know is a little bit weird, but we're going to start on the right side here. Water from the roof runs into this tank on the far right here. And so again, we collect half of the roof. It's a pretty large area. So we get a pretty small event. We get a substantial amount of water. It's shocking how much water actually. So that water goes through the storage tank. It's pumped through a filter, then goes through this outdoor 1,000-gallon tank, and then it's used to irrigate this outdoor area. So this is also really public facing, where people can kind of see this system and how it works and all of those things. In the 2024 irrigation season, 21,000 gallons of water was collected, and irrigation was not supplemented with potable water. So we do have a way to connect to the potable water system when we need to, but we did not need to do that. This project has been really instrumental because we've had to have a lot of partnerships in order to make this successful. So there's a lot of regulation around this, and you might say, how are you doing this? I thought this is illegal in Colorado. Well, so there's an issue. You can collect roof runoff, 255-gallon barrels at residences, not commercial applications. So that's the roof runoff collection or rainwater collection that's allowable per regulation in Colorado. Now, the way that we get around that is through a water augmentation plan. So what we have to do, and the reason that roof runoff collection is limited in Colorado is really because of the water rights and the downstream users. So what we have to do is track all of the water that we use for irrigation, report it every month, and then we pay Denver Water to release some water from their reservoir to make up for any of the water we use. Now, this is like a drop. It's not a drop in the bucket. It's a drop in the reservoir for them. But it's important from a standpoint of demonstrating how to do this kind of project. So people tend to think you can't do this in Colorado. You can. You just have to have the augmentation plan to make it work. And that's not trivial. And I think this project has been really important for us to kind of pave the path for how to do this and develop the partnerships. So Colorado Division of Water Resources, who we have our water augmentation plan with and where we do the monthly reporting of consumed water. Now, Denver Water is our water supplier, so it's Denver Water that we then pay for that water. So we report to the city, report to the Division of Water Resources. Then they tell Denver Water how much we used, and then we get a bill from Denver Water. It's really small. It's almost nothing. But again, all of it's important from a perspective of demonstration. Then there's the Colorado regulation, House Bill 161005, and then code for the plumbing components. So we've had to be engaged with the regulatory piece of this as well as the plumbing board. Contractors never did anything right, and so had to work with them to get everything up to par and meeting plumbing code. So a lot of people at the table to make this project work. Okay, so the gray water system. This system is collecting, so then the second floor of this building is a locker room where there's showers and hand wash sinks and toilets. So we are collecting the shower water and hand wash water from that locker room. There's a male and female. How many showers, Sarah? 4 in total, 2 in each. That's right. Yeah. Oh, I meant to include the Greta sign. Darn it. So we actually have a whole shower campaign going on right now to get people to shower more. So we have more gray water for our research. You know what? I'm just gonna see if I can find it. It's okay if I don't cover other stuff because this is cute. Go into my chat. Let's see here. Darn it.
Well, I can find it.
You can chat it to me maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go on and I'll come back to it. So, and because I can explain how the system works while you're doing that. So here we have gray water coming into this tank. It goes into then this treatment tank that has a biofilm reactor as well as a membrane. So it's treated here, then we chlorinate it. So this is chlorine contact and storage tank, and then these pumps are pumping that water back up for use in the toilets in the building. I would be lying if I said that this system is not created challenge for us. It's so problematic. I did not design it, and I wouldn't have designed it this way for one thing. Contractors, it's new, right? So contractors aren't used to doing gray water systems. So there were a lot of mistakes and things that they didn't get right. We're getting there though. We're really close. I mean, we've had it operational and then shuts down a little bit, operational shuts down a little bit, but I think we're right on the edge of getting this thing to work right. Yeah, I think that's it. Sarah, did you get the Greta thing to
I
me?
did it.
Okay, then I will go, I'm gonna go check it. So working in the Spur building, there's a lot, do I need to click on Meet Greta?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna get this down a little bit. We have a whole bunch of younger, kids your age, about their recent college grads. They work in the building as part of the education team, and generally everyone in the building's pretty excited about contributing to research. But we named our gray water system Greta. And right now we have this big shower campaign to get people to shower for science. And so Greta drinks what you drain. Feed her to keep our research flowing. Sarah's responsible for this. I think it's super cute and it's fun, and it's really important. We need a certain volume to support our research every week, and so we got to get people showering. And it's kind of fun to have Greta, people thinking about the gray water system as a living system in the building too. Okay, so I will go back to my PowerPoint now. wherever it is. Probably shouldn't have done that, huh? Where am I? Oh, here I am. It's the problem is all this stuff, all right. What is going on now? Okay. Okay, so all those arrows. Oh, okay. So those are two demonstration projects, and water for research use does take precedent over the building uses. So like right now we have a lot of research going on with the gray water. So the gray water first goes to our research and then goes for flushing toilets. Want to talk about a couple of ongoing projects that I think provide good examples of the kind of work and partnership that we do. So we're working with Denver Department of Transportation, Dottie, and Mile High Flood District on nature-based solutions. That project is highly connected to the one below, funded by Water Research Foundation, where Dottie and Mile High are also partners. I have a project with the oil and gas industry and also developing kind of a long-term partnership with Metro Water Recovery. And Tanya Rausch-Williams will be here later in the semester to talk to you guys about some of their research, so stay tuned for that. This shows a little more detail about that stormwater collection system I was talking about. So this is a 28-acre area where we're collecting stormwater that goes into a 10,000-gallon storage tank that then can be, this is a bioretention cell. So what a bioretention cell is a system, a planted system with media where stormwater flows and then drains with the hope that it controls stormwater runoff volumes as well as water quality. So this was really built and designed in conjunction with Mile High Flood District in Denver and Dottie, because they are interested to see how these systems perform, and they're not able to get good data all the time for their real systems that are in the field because there's so many uncontrolled things that happen with those. So what we can do here is collect from this 10,000-gallon storage tank, and we do simulations where we simulate a storm event, fill the bioretention cell, let it drain, and measure water quality, and we have moisture probes and infiltration and water volume retention and things of that sort. We can also send the water to our indoor water systems, like these membrane systems that we have in our lab. So we have the option to either divert the stormwater to these bioretention cells in the outdoor facilities or our indoor facilities. So like I said, our partners are really interested in seeing how these perform. We have two cells because we have different media we're testing. So this one is just planted with soil, sand, and compost on the left. The one on the right has soil, sand, compost, but also zeolite and biochar. And we're looking to see if those can improve the contaminant removal. The compost that we have added into this media mix has caused a lot of leaching of contaminants. And I mean, this was kind of good because we have this a direct finding of this now. Mile High Flood District is written into their guidance that compost should not be used in bioretention cells. Compost is great to use throughout the city in different landscape areas, but in bioretention cells that were flooding with stormwater, maybe not the best application. We also have a green roof on top of the roof, and this is all Amanda Salerno's research, if anyone knows her. So we're also interested in the water quality. This is a highly polluted area, so there's even potential for contaminants to enter the rainwater that from the air surrounding this highly urban area. And we're really looking at volume control and how much water we can retain in this green roof as well, and how these plants are doing and surviving. So these are all native vegetation. They're selected to be appropriate for our climate and be able to handle these kind of flooding and then dry periods. So they're all, we work a lot with Jennifer Buslow on this project. She's in soil and crop science and has expertise in native vegetation selection. So she's been looking at all of these things, selecting these plants and looking at the plant health and survivability of those and making recommendations about types of vegetation to put into these systems. Okay, so this is a project funded by Water Research Foundation that's kind of really aligned with the last project I showed. Utilities across the country have kind of they come to Water Research Foundation with problems that they're having, and they are saying, what are the media that we can put into these nature-based solutions like a bioretention cell that are actually effective in removing contaminants? Because there's kind of mixed results, and honestly our study with the biochar and zeolite has pretty mixed results. So we started really fundamental and looked at some commercial media for PFAS, granule activated carbon, biochar. We work with water treatment residual. We had a huge number of media. We started with really small batch scale studies, then moved up to column scale studies, and then we're going to test our most effective media. This spring, we're changing out the media that are in this bioretention cell with new media based on this study and testing those media. Okay, so this one is with the oil and gas industry. We're assessing there. So when oil and gas industry goes into a site, when they're done, they have to do a restoration project. And so they have to restore to a condition at least as good as or better than before they arrived there. And so they are also wanting to think about native vegetation selections and maybe using constructed wetlands, but more importantly, they want to see how their treated produced water that's treated through reverse osmosis, very highly treated, how that water could be potentially used for these native vegetation projects and ecological restoration. So because people aren't that fond of using this for these water sources for crop irrigation, they see this as a really good way to make use of the water in a way that also provides environmental and ecological benefit. And so we're looking at, when we think about this right water for the right use, do we really need to go all the way through highly treated reverse osmosis where there's essentially no contaminants left whatsoever to use this water for irrigation for these restoration projects? So a lot of what we're doing is looking at what are the combinations. So the next treatments, so before reverse osmosis, they have granular activated carbon. So we're looking at combinations of water that we could put together and looking at effects on plant health and polishing and constructed wetlands and how those could serve a role in ecological benefit. Again, this is a really great collaboration. Jennifer Boosel is on this project as well. And these are the greenhouses that are at the Terra building. And here is a picture of the plants in our experiment. So really great collaboration with the School of Agriculture, where we can kind of combine our experience with water quality and treatment with some of their expertise and facilities to test these different plants. Metro Water Recovery has really been interested in educating more students to be trained on wastewater treatment operations at the advanced level. So they're feeling a void of kind of people that are trained adequately in this field. And so they are wanting to partner with us over the longer term to kind of co-advise PhD students together. I work with Tanya Rausch Williams there, and she has a PhD, and the staff there, boy, they are so knowledgeable, but they want to have more students get trained in these disciplines, and they want to solve problems that they're having and do that through these PhD projects. So currently Michael Evans, if anyone knows him, is working on this project where the state is really kind of coming down on nutrient regulations. And they already passed some regulations in the last couple of years that are really hard for facilities to meet, but upcoming is even more stringent. And they have to access these dissolved organic nitrogen and phosphorus components that they haven't had to before. These are really hard to remove. These are like the products of biodegradation that are left that are not biodegradable. So these are really hard to remove components. And so they're wanting to have a PhD student to really understand the species of those, the speciation through really advanced analytical techniques. Then based on that, mechanistically determine what are appropriate treatment strategies or how can these be controlled? Are there different process configurations that could control the formation of these different dissolved organic and nitrogen components? So expect more projects coming online with Metro Water Recovery as well. So just want to say we're always seeking collaborations. We always are looking for talented students to join the team and work on these projects. And already, you know, most of these projects that I brought up, I've collaborated with Susan DeLong in our department. Ganqua, I mentioned Jennifer Buslow, who is not in our department, but co-advises several students, and she's actually an adjunct or affiliate faculty in our department. And so Ken Carlson is working on some projects in water tap as well. So lots of opportunity to collaborate. If you or your advisor have projects that you feel like would be a good fit in this laboratory, please reach out. And again, you know, always looking for students. We're kind of full on students at the moment, but there's several graduating soon. So this is all of our QR codes. And that wraps us up. Any questions?
We have some 3 minutes.
Blue shirt.
When you're working with companies like consulting companies, what motivates them usually to bring in a research department, and how does it work like funding wise?
Yeah. So consulting companies are one that we haven't had as much collaboration or funding from. We collaborate with them a lot, but what motivates them is that it's typically the expertise that we bring to the project. So we do have a project with HDR on OneWater where they're really just wanting our technical assistance on that project and bringing our expertise to the table to at least review and kind of guide the process that they're recommending to utilities for OneWater programs. Some of the consulting firms have their own laboratory space. Some of them are limited on that. And then maybe they don't have, we have, you know, students and things that can help work on these projects. And that maybe, you know, it's not the best use of their staff's time to be doing those kinds of things. So really it's about when they want to test different types of systems or technologies that are maybe a little different from what's been done before, or when they just need expertise and the student pipeline. You know, they want to hire students, so they're motivated to bring in projects with students to create that pipeline.
So then you just are kind of like so they don't fund any of it, or?
So they do.
Oh, okay.
They do fund some
Okay.
portions, but I think most of our funding right now is coming from industry and utilities, and not as much from the consulting firms. But that's an area where we expect to grow, and we certainly have a lot of ongoing conversations right now about potential projects with them. Yes.
Well, kind of follow-up question that Sam just asked. So how did you initiate the center?
Yeah.
Initially, like to bring all the resources together and bring the buildings and the lab. I bet it's gonna be a
There's
very,
a lot to that. So
challenging part.
yes, so number one is OneWater Solutions Institute that MASDAQ created many years ago, decades ago. And that was always created with this vision of being outward facing and helping solve problems for the water industry and utilities, and a lot of collaboration with Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. So that was kind of the first thing that happened, was the creation of OneWater Solutions, or OWSE. And from there, we always kind of had a lot of projects with all these various people, but kind of bringing it together in a center that made it more cohesive. And then having Sarah Milani there to help us with communications and ensuring we're staying on top of all of our projects and delivering on time and doing all these things the way that you need to when you work with these partners. They're not as forgiving, maybe as even National Science Foundation, if you're late a little bit on a report, probably okay. They want to check in with us every month. They want to know what's going on with the project, what we're doing. And so it just requires a whole lot more coordination. So bringing Sarah onto the team and the OWSI entity was a huge part. Now, this facility was at Spur. And I have to really go back in time because I don't even totally remember how it all happened. But at one point we had working with us Teresa Connor, and so when Spur was getting developed with CSU, they kind of were going around talking to different departments about what it was going to be and what was the vision. And Jocelyn Hiddle was running all of that, and she had said, and somebody kind of started to point out that they wanted to do some building scale water systems. And then we started to see, we're right there in the South Platte. It's right by Metro wastewater. We have access to all these different water sources. So let's just bring that together. And so we wrote a proposal to the Spur system on this laboratory, and they found it to be really well aligned with their mission of education and outreach and connectivity with the community. So they decided to include the water tap as part of their building, and then we've had to work hard to develop and foster all these relationships and keep projects going.
Do you remember how long it takes?
Oh, yeah.
Scratch to,
This was like
to this-
15 years. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So I was involved in planning this lab for 10 to 12 years before it was built. Yeah, it was a long time.
Really amazing. I have another question is that when you were talking about a natural-based solution, and
Yeah.
then you mentioned like you kind of use the natural vegetation and also the constructive wetland
Mhm.
and try to combine with different traditional method and the advanced method
Yeah.
for the water treatment. So have you also considered like what's the best way to sustain those vegetation? Not only like the solution, whether those natural-based solution is really good for the treatment, but also like how to sustain those vegetation there, because
Yeah.
we always want them to be sustainable.
Yes. So we go back actually to these guys. So that is exactly what we're looking at, is that, and so we irrigated these plants, for example, in the first season for establishment, and then we stopped irrigating because we wanted to test, real conditions without irrigation. I wish I could remember the word that John used, but these are mid-riparian or something like that, these plants. So they're ones that when the river floods in the spring,
Right.
they get saturated and then they undergo extended dry periods later in the season. So she has been able to help us select the appropriate vegetation that's kind of used to already, that's native to Colorado and used to those kind of conditions. We've had a lot of success with this vegetation. There are a couple species that didn't do as well. So again, all of that's going into the guidance that Mile High Flood District puts out for, then they tell cities, here's the kind of plants that you should select for these systems
Gotcha.
that are going to survive well. So we're testing biomass, survivability, all of those kinds of things.
And try to match the growth period with
That's
the
right.
irrigation plan.
That's right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because all of these systems, both of the green roof and the bioretention cell are going to have that, they're after a rain event, they're going to flood
Mhm.
entirely.
Right.
And then we've not had precipitation for a really long time, but it made it maybe 3 weeks then after that. So they retain moisture pretty well, these systems, but then those plants need to be adaptable to go across those different conditions.
Gotcha.
Remember, so, yep.
Yeah, I was kind of curious about the roof runoff collection system? Because my understanding that's kind of an example for other people to use. And I'm curious if you've seen like other buildings in the area or companies in Denver implementing a similar system.
Yeah, not yet. We're still trying to get the message across that you can do this. Everybody thinks you can't and that it's illegal. And there is tremendous interest. I presented a meeting last summer at Denver Botanical Gardens, and it was part of a OneWater meeting. There's tremendous interest and a lot of eyes sparked when explained, that you can do this and here's how you do it. I expect that we'll probably see another project come online sometime in the next year. I don't know of one planned at this particular time.
Follow up on that, when you have to pay for using it, is that less of an incentive for like a company to do it? Like, is it cheaper than just a regular water bill for the municipality?
It is lower cost than a water bill to use. So you're not paying the same price you would pay for potable water delivery, not even close. I should actually put those costs up, but it's not even close to what we pay for potable water delivery, because then you're paying for the treatment, distribution, all of those pieces. This is just paying for the water rate itself, which is very, very low cost. The financial part of this is not likely to be the barrier. The barrier is more in the paperwork and the reporting that has to be done in order to do it. But there are literally places that cannot be developed because they can't access the water rights. So this provides a way to do an augmentation plan to have these waters serve as part of the water supply and then be able to, so sometimes it can be a question of, can I develop or not? And I have had developers calling me saying, I've got this gray area I want to develop, and what can I do with the water to make this work so I can get this approved? So that would probably be more of the drivers when developers want to develop a neighborhood or a commercial area. They're not, that cost of the water is going to be nothing, and they're probably also going to be willing to deal with the paperwork because it's a question of whether they develop or not. Yes, there is. So in near Colorado Springs, Castle Rock, yes, there is a neighborhood. So the state did allow for 2 pilot projects that do this. That don't, ours is not one of the pilot projects. Ours is just through the process of the augmentation plan. This area in Castle Rock, they do a large scale whole neighborhood collection of roof runoff in the area, and they use that for irrigation and have like ponds and things like that. They are tracking the water really carefully there as well. The water in terms of gallons used and reporting and all of that kind of thing. All right. Thank you, everybody.
So thanks for the passage of